and welcome to my channel. I am MrsPTarleton. Michelle Emerson of Pocketful of Primary has started a tag, Pandemic Teaching Tag, and she is asking teachers to answer these 10 questions. I couldn't resist the opportunity to jump on board and answer these questions for you on what it's like to be teaching in the midst of a pandemic. So let's get started. Number 1. It's a very basic question. Are we teaching hybrid or virtual? What are we doing? So currently I am virtual. I've been virtual this whole time since March. I have not been into the classroom at all. Only recently they've started allowing teachers to teach from campus. But other than that, it's been in my office right here. This is where I teach. I use Google Classroom and I post all my assignments there, and we go through Google Meets for all of our meetings. So that's currently what we're doing as far as how we're teaching. So the next question is, how are you doing on a scale of 1 to 10? In the beginning, it was very, very difficult for me to teach from home. I live off of the energy from the students and the hustle bustle of the everyday hallways and things like that. And so it probably took me about 5 weeks before I finally okay, this is it. This is how we're going to do things. And this is how things are going to be for now. Not forever, but for now. This is how things are going to be. Once I began to shift my mindset and just accept that, things did start to improve. So in the beginning, I was probably a 2, maybe even a 1. But for now, I really feel like I'm probably like an 8 or a 9. Most days pushing on the 9 end, I'm okay. I feel like things are getting better. As we go along and as I practice this new way of teaching, things get a little bit easier. Now, some days, of course, just like in the regular classroom, you're like, oh my goodness, what just happened? But for the most part, things are much better now than they were when we first went to virtual learning. I find that now I do value and I appreciate when the students chat with me in the comments section of the Google Meet, because they don't usually like to turn on their cameras, but they do chat with me, and I do appreciate that, and I do value that. Every now and then they'll actually unmute their mic, and that's just priceless. I love to hear their voices. It makes me smile, but I will be okay with just the chat. Question number 3 is, what is one positive thing about your teaching format? If there's one thing I have to choose, it would be the fact that I started paperless as far as assignments. I was only doing assignments back in January before the pandemic hit, and I collected and assigned homework and assignments through Google Classroom. So I felt like I had a little bit of a handle on it. And of course, since the pandemic, I have learned a whole heck of a lot more in Google Classroom, and everything I do now is completely through Google Classroom. And I've gotten very comfortable with that and learned new things along the way. And that's definitely been a positive. The fact that I started using Google Classroom before the pandemic. Even if it was only for assignments, I felt like I had a little step ahead, that I kind of understood Google Classroom. Question 4 is, what is one thing that you are rocking? Now, I really like this question because I think we're really hard on ourselves as individuals. We're hard on ourselves, and we don't look at the good stuff that we do. So that one was hard for me too. I had to really stop and think, what is it that I am rocking? And I do a lot of things that are probably good, but I was struggling with that question. But I would have to say, the one thing that I know that I'm rocking is staying current. I'm staying current on my lesson planning. I'm staying current with my grade book. So keeping those things up to date, that is one thing that I'm rocking, and that has helped me with my stress level. Because in the beginning, I was not keeping up with the grading and keeping up with the lesson planning, and it was very, very stressful. So that's one thing that I have definitely kept up with, and I'm rocking that. So question number 5 is, what is one challenge that I had that I have overcome? Now, before we were all teaching from home virtually, I had started assigning assignments through Google Classroom. However, I had only started like 2 months before, so I wasn't real good at it. And I needed to figure out a quicker and easier way to be able to give students feedback on their assignments when grading it. I was getting so buried in grading and typing comments and things like that. So what I found was Google Classroom's grading rubric. I absolutely love it. I push a button, it sends the grade right to the grade book in Google Classroom, and it gives the students feedback on what they accomplish, what level they accomplish, because you could type in your rubric, you're creating it yourself, so the students know right away what parts of the assignment they were missing. So I really do like grading rubrics. If you need help with creating one, I'll link my video down below in the description. Question number 6. What is one thing that has made teaching easier for you during a pandemic? I would have to say getting those structures in place. At first, I didn't have the structures. And I thought, wow, how would I do this in the classroom? So I started creating things that would be just like they were in the classroom. So a few minutes before classes start, I log into my online meeting. As students enter, I chat with them and say hello and greet them. And we sometimes have a little chit chat back and forth, or they'll type it in the chat. And then once class actually starts, I set a timer. The students go and do their warm up while I am taking attendance. That has been the best thing, to get those structures in place. Just because it's online doesn't mean it can't replicate and be similar structure that you had in the real classroom. The other things, I know there's only one, but I have to share with you the other thing that makes me smile. And sometimes when my students, I feel like they're getting down, I remind them and I remind myself, we are pioneers. No one else has done this, right? No one's been teaching from home. This is all new. Our students are the first students to actually go to class, high school and elementary school. Who would have thought back in January that this would ever be a thing? They're pioneers, and that they'll be read about in history books years from now. So that makes me smile. Number 7 is, what change have I made in my virtual teaching that I will continue even when we go back in person? And that one change is putting everything in one Google slide. So everything's there. Normally I would just have slides for my notes, for students to take notes, and then their lessons would be separate. But I think having it all in one place makes it easy for me and easy for the students to find. I also find that labeling each assignment with the date and the unit, the lesson number, that really is helpful. So when students are absent, they know exactly where to find their lesson. And I will continue that even going back in person teaching. Question number 8 is, what is my favorite purchase? Oh my goodness. My favorite purchase is my $10 HDMI cord. Oh my goodness. I had an old TV monitor laying around, not being used, and I plugged it into my laptop. Having the students, your Google Meet on the big screen where I can see the chat from afar, it just is so much better. And I find that I'm using it more often. So now I have 2 monitors. I have my big screen TV and I have my laptop. I usually project the lesson from my laptop so that I can see the chat and see their mics if they unmute their mics on the bigger TV screen. I also find that it's very helpful when I'm grading. So having those 2 monitors, I'm not sure how I lived without that. So my HDMI cord is probably my favorite purchase that I've made so far. Question number 9 is, how are you taking care of yourself? So what I put into place is that I allow myself 45 minutes after the time I'm supposed to leave. I do give myself that little window, which I would normally do in person as well, to get everything ready for the following day so that I'm not scrambling in the morning and trying to figure things out, and I can sleep and get my rest. So I allow myself 45 minutes past the time I'm supposed to leave. If I can leave sooner, of course I do. I log out of email, all schoolwork, and I'm done for the day. I don't go answer emails. I don't do any of that. I stop for the day. So that's one of the things that I do. The other thing I actually started February 5th of 2019 is riding my stationary bike. Today will be 652 days have ridden my bike every single day without fail. I find that it's a great time for me to just decompress, to just relax. And it's so relaxing. In the beginning, I didn't think it was, of course, and I had to force myself. But now it's such a habit. I was like, I have to go ride my bike. I just need peace and quiet. And it's in the garage. I open the garage, so I'm outdoors, and I just enjoy my little bike ride. Number 10 is what is making you happy. So what's making me happy is taking long drives along the coast. So in the evening, sometimes I like to take the drive and just go watch the waves, and it's so relaxing and calming. I also am enjoying comfy sweatpants, leggings, things that I would never wear to work. I'm enjoying wearing those every day. It may be difficult to go back in person and not be able to wear those. And also the commute to work. I absolutely love my commute to work. It's a short little walk down the hall and I am at work. That is probably the best part about teaching from home. So how would you answer these 10 questions? If you have a YouTube channel, please do a video and share it with me. I'd love to hear from you. If not, you want to just drop it in the comments? Please let me know, how would you answer these 10 questions? Also, don't forget to go see Michelle Emerson's answers as well in her video at Pocketful of Primary. I'll leave the link to her video in the description as well. Remember, step out, be uniquely wonderful you. Have a great day.